Let's go to Queensland now. Joining us live is the opposition leader, Peter Dutton. Peter, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. We'll start off with Ukraine because, as you'd be aware, Putin has launched a bloody and brutal revenge on Ukraine last night in response for a blown up bridge to Crimea. What's your response to the images that you've seen so far and what Putin's done?
Well, Pete, the images are obviously horrific, and it's just the latest barbaric act from somebody that we know to be a person of evil intent. And the fact that Russia went illegally into the Ukraine to start with, the fact that they have already shelled hospitals and residential blocks, places where people are gathering, just shows the depravity of somebody like Putin, and the world pressure needs to continue to mount. I know that there are a lot of ways in which countries seem to be able to get around the sanctions that are in place. There should be a renewed call for countries to stop that economic activity, to starve Russia of that economic support. That's the most important pressure that we can apply now, but everybody wants to see Russia out of Ukraine and allow these innocent men, women and children to get about their lives again. OK,
so just to back up on that point, do you want sanctions intensified? Is that what you're saying there?
I think there should be a renewed look at the sanctions that are in place, the effectiveness of them, and whether some countries are subverting the rules that are in place at the moment. I understand the need for energy sources, particularly in Europe, but the reality is that we need to put as much pressure and renewed pressure on President Putin, and I do think there needs to be a fresh look at the sanctions that are in place, whether additional sanctions need to be applied, but certainly to make sure that the existing sanctions are being honoured by all countries. And that is something that we've obviously signed up to when we were in government from day one, and we would support any pressure that the Albanese government could bring to bear in this situation with international partners.
Australia, and you are part of this too, has been generous in its response. What more should our government send to Ukraine?
Well, I think we should work very closely with the ambassador here, who obviously has the ear of the President, and listen very carefully to those requests. I don't know what additional equipment's been sent since May, because the government's been quite guarded about that. We were certainly very open when we were in government about what we had sent, not the specific details of the weapon systems, but certainly a dollar value as to what we'd sent, the number of Bushmasters. And I know that there will be pushback within the system to perhaps wind back, given that this will be a prolonged battle and that the asks will continue over a period of time. But I think the Defence Minister, frankly, really needs to stand up and explain what has been delivered and what's in the pipeline, because I fear that there has been excuse me, a slowing down of the level of assistance, and I think that is of concern. The Ukraine deserves our support, and we should redouble our efforts.
Right.
If that's what they're asking for.
Yeah, Richard Marles, he was on the program last hour, and he said there are options that they are looking at the moment. One of the options I put to him is whether or not we should send troops to actively go, military personnel to go and train Ukrainian troops. Other countries are doing that at the moment. Is that something that you would support?
Well, I don't support the deployment of troops onto the ground in the Ukraine. I think that's obviously a provocative act, and it's not an act that other countries have taken either. There is a training.
I mean, outside Ukraine though, they're training them outside Ukraine.
Well, there is a role for Australian troops in training, particularly if we're giving equipment. You want the equipment to be used as best it can be, as safely as can be, and as effectively as it can be. So, but there'll be classified elements to that. There was when I was Defence Minister, so I wouldn't expect the Defence Minister to provide all of that detail. But I do expect Richard Marles to step up and provide information about what's been provided since the Labor Party was elected in May. I fear it's not enough, and I hope that it can be more.